What's up, YouTube? I'm the Calcara131, and in this video we're going to be checking out the Temu.com Huang Fu fixed blade knife. Yes, I bought a knife off Temu. I won't even lie. For those of you that don't know, for the record, Temu, it seems like it's a fairly new thing. I haven't seen a whole lot of it in America until recently on social medias and ads and stuff. But think Wish, basically. Basically just like direct from cheap Chinese manufacturer crap for the most part. I got suckered into it. Not even gonna lie. For those of you that might be looking at Temu, whenever they say spend like $50, $60, get a $100 coupon, what they mean is you get a $100 coupon bundle. Hindsight's 2020. I should have fucking knew that. But I wasn't thinking when I bought it, so I got a couple other things, and I decided to get the Huang Fu, which is actually the name of the company, apparently. Huang Fu. A Huang Fu fixed blade knife. Only reason I even considered it, it's full tang. So regardless of what the steel type is, regardless of anything else, it should be pretty durable. It's a just solid chunk of steel. So I decided to give it a shot and pick it up. For the record, at the time of me buying it, there's sales going on Temu all the fucking time. But at the time I bought it, it was like 26 bucks. So when you first get your Huang Fu Temu knife, very fancy packaging, as you can tell. They put a lot of thought and presentation into the packaging and initial thoughts of the knife, the initial presentation. Opens up. Now, initially, this does come in a bag. That's the only difference. It doesn't come with anything else. Cardboard box and the knife itself. Now, the knife itself, I'll start with the sheath, I guess. It has a, as you can see, little belt clip on it. It is attached with this piece of, held in place, I should say, with this little piece of Velcro, which it's literally just slid through. Which means you can easily get rid of it if you don't really want it. But, and frankly, I would get rid of it because you probably can't hear this super well. Even if I put it up to my mic, just trust me on this. It's held in place extremely well. It is not coming out of here. So, pop it open, you get the knife, but keeping on with the sheath, it is just held in place by a couple screws here. None of them came loose, so that's a good start, I guess. The sheath actually on the back of it, which I didn't see, like there's no description of it, because there's not much of a description at all, but it does have this little sharpening, honing stone. I shouldn't have said honing, because just feeling it, this obviously can't come across on film, but let me hold it up to my mic real quick. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's a pretty rough grit stone. This is the sort of thing that it seems almost more like if you had an actual edge damage to it. I'm genuinely scared to run the edge along it because I'll get into this in a bit, but the edge is shockingly good. But, I mean, it's good that it has one, at least. You can't use all of it on account of this being in the way. But it does come with one. It does have all these lashing points if you wanted to lash it to a plate carrier or a backpack or load-bearing equipment, whatever. Now, I'm not positive if it does line up with like Molly locks or Tech locks, but comparing it, ignore the Velcro, but comparing it against a Buck GCK, I believe, ground combat knife, lining up these holes, they look extremely close. So I'm tempted to say, don't quote me on this, I think you might be able to get away with using like the Molly locks, Tech locks, whatever you want to call it, on your Huang Fu tactical knife. But it does not have a drainage hole, unfortunately, but it feels like some kind of a plastic, something like that. This piece, despite looking like there's something in it, there isn't. It's just the little rivety, holdy in parts for this. One thing it took me a while to actually discover that this knife and sheath comes with is, some of you might have already noticed right here, it comes with a little ferro rod. Really small diameter ferro rod, but it does come with one. Most of the back, you might be able to kind of tell, it's kind of rounded off. It's not super good for throwing sparks. However, I was able to figure out that this front part is pretty decent. Again, very, very firm fit. I have literally no worries at all about this coming out. Now, as for the knife itself, the material is up for debate. I'm not sure. The blade says 440C, right? Which I don't know why they put it real big on the blade like this, because it's not something to advertise. It's not a good steel. But the blade says 440C. The product page and product description talks about 7CR13, which from what little bit of research I did, is basically 420C, which is actually a slight step down from this. So I don't really know what steel this is made of. 440C possibly, or 7CR13. Either way, it's a $26 knife. They're both very budget steels. Don't expect too much out of them. The handle material, they say like, I'll throw up on screen what they say. I don't remember what they call it, but it feels very plasticky. I want to say at one point they call it rubber, which this ain't no rubber that I've ever felt. But yeah, it feels very plasticky. I'm not 100% sure. But as you can see, obviously it is a full tang blade. So even if it is a cheap steel, it's a solid chunk of the steel. So it should be at least relatively sturdy, not likely to snap on you. But it feels relatively good in the hand. I haven't done extensive long-term testing to see if there's any like big noticeable hot spots, but it doesn't really feel that bad. It does have a little finger choil for you to choke up if you want to do more fine tasks. You can use this for a little spot back here for a lanyard loop if you so desire. Some light jimping here, same thing up here. It gives you a bit of traction, but it is not sharp at all. So the weight for the Huang Fu Temu tactical knife, we're looking at 8.8 ounces. Just go ahead and for funsies, check with the sheath. 15 ounces. Yeah, 15 ounces. Just so you can get sort of a size comparison idea of about how big this thing is. It has about a 4.5-inch blade, roughly, total. Cutting edge closer to about 4 inches. But overall, about 9 inches, a touch over 9 inches. As far as the edge profile, I'm not an expert by any means, but it does seem to have a hollow grind. You can see the edge there sort of slides. It kind of concaves in, but it doesn't go straight to an edge, which the picture I'm basing this off of shows. So I believe, again, hollow grind. For the record, thickness is around 5 millimeters, something like that, or around 2/10 of an inch thick. So it's pretty thick. That's the entire way through, basically. As opposed to up here, of course, it'll start to narrow down a bit. But for most of it, around 2/10 of an inch, or again, about 5 millimeters. So taking it apart, as you can see, once again, it is full tang, one solid piece of steel, probably why it weighs so much. But handle scales, like I said, probably some kind of plastic. They don't feel that great, really. For the record, they do take a T10 Torx head, which again, I think I mentioned already. Huge fan of Torx over hex. I've had many, many hex heads get kind of like rounded out, and the Allen key I try to use it just won't unscrew them. So never had that problem with Torx, so I like that. The other side is also T10. I didn't want to go looking for another one, so I just used a T9. But very simple. In case you had any doubt, which I didn't, but screws not Loctited or anything down. So some initial sharpness testing, I've already done it a couple times, but the Huang Fu, like $26 knife off Temu. It's a cheap knife off Temu. It's Chinese made. I expected absolute trash, right? I mean, I think that's a pretty fair assumption. I expected it to be dull as hell. It's better than I thought it would be. I'll get you some up close sort of B-roll sort of shots of this, but is it great? No, I can look at it and I can see some tearing in it, and this is also like thicker standard paper, but it does better than I thought it would. Let's put it that way. I expected it to be just complete trash, completely, frankly, unusable. I genuinely expected to have to completely resharpen this as soon as I got it. But so I'm going to do a quick little penetration test, stab test on the Huang Fu knife. This is just clear ballistics gel, as you can see. This has been used, but it simulates human soft tissue, so we shall see what kind of penetration I get, and then we'll test it. Pretty good penetration. Here. Most of the blade slid in. And hold that up. Yeah, somewhere around 4 inches of penetration or so. So some final thoughts on the Temu Huang Fu fixed blade knife. As I've probably said a couple times throughout the video, it's better than I thought it would be. It really is. It initially came sharper than I thought it would be. It's a $26 knife off Temu. I expected this thing to be trash, okay? It's performed better than I thought it would. The fitment on the sheath, better than I expected. It's not coming out. The fact that the sheath comes with a little ferro rod, didn't know that, and that's convenient. The fact that, again, it came sharper than I expected, and me, not a very experienced or good knife sharpener, was able to get it pretty close to shaving sharp, but there are some inherent downsides, okay? It's a $26 knife off Temu. Warranty support, probably non-existent. The knife steel, whatever it is, the 440C or the 7CR13, it's budget steel, regardless. No matter which way you go, it's a pretty cheap steel. I don't know which one it is because, again, blade says 440, product description says 7CR, but the product description also doesn't say anything about the ferro rod. So I don't know which one to freaking trust. But I didn't do as much testing on it as I would have liked. Not gonna lie about that. My current living situation, while I do like Texas more than Illinois, the individual houses that I have been in, I like Illinois a whole lot more. I could walk 30 seconds and be in a stretch of woods where I could chop down whatever I want. I could beat this on trees. I could reach down and pick up a stick to sharp Calcara, but future Calcara here. And fun fact, before I decided to edit and then upload my half-ass the first impressions review of the Huang Fu Temu knife that I did in my garage, I came back to Illinois to visit some family, so I am once again a 30-second walk away from being in a bunch of woods that nobody seems to give a shit about. So I was able to do a bit more semi-realistic-ish. I didn't do a lot, but I was able to do a bit more of use with the Huang Fu knife, and honestly, my opinion hasn't really changed at all. When it comes to the like finer stuff, like making feather sticks, I was kind of ish able to make some. Not very good. Is that the knife's fault? No, I would say in no way is that the knife's fault. I would say much more likely that is my fault for being, not very good at making feather sticks. I did some batoning with it. It held up just fine, and actually it kind of did better than I thought it would, to be totally honest, considering the size of some of the logs I tried splitting were literally almost the entire width of the knife. So it held up better than I thought it would. Again, this isn't like after a year of extensive camping and use with it or anything. This is still not an extended look at it. However, the way I described it, I believe, previously, which I don't know if you'll actually see now, but for like a cheap beater knife, something that maybe you want to like just throw in your truck, or throw in like maybe you're just like a casual camper and you want to have a semi-decent fixed blade knife just to throw in a camping bag or something like that. You don't want to spend a lot of money on it. Like 25 bucks, something like that. Maybe 21, 22 if you can get one of the fucking Temu sales. For that price, as long as you understand the inherent limitations of, it's a relatively compact fixed blade knife. It's not very large. It's not going to be able to chop down any kind of like even medium sized trees, anything like that. But understanding the general size of it and what it should be expected to do. Can't playing with my feet. I think you could do a lot worse. Again, just for like a beater knife that you don't care if you lose it. You don't care if the tip gets broken or something, which I don't think it will because it's a fairly stout tip. But you know what I mean. If you want a knife that is good enough, I'd say, especially if you're better than me at putting an edge on knives, you can probably get this thing razor sharp, truly razor sharp. And I think you could do a lot worse than the Huang Fu $25 Temu knife.